Hey guys, my name's Malcolm. Welcome to Muscle Memory, and there's a new world champion of Deadlock Pro Wrestling won the second anniversary show. Calvin Tankman, how are you?
I'm good, man. Thank you for having me.
Of course. I had to talk to you. I saw that you became the world champion at DPW second anniversary. How's it feel to be the world champion of Deadlock Pro Wrestling?
Culmination of a lot of work, man. I've been there since day one. I'd like to think of myself as one of the stalwarts. The fans call me the gatekeeper, but now the gatekeeper's become the standard, and I think it's been that way for a while. I just needed the gold to prove it.
Definitely. Like when you won the title, when the ref's hitting the three count, what's like the first thought that goes through your mind?
Uh, it's always probably shock. Not shock as in like I didn't think I could do it, but like as a wrestler, you're always thinking like, all right, if they kick out of this, I'm going to this next.
Yeah,
So like when the three count happens, it's like, oh wait, they didn't kick out of that one. You know what I'm saying? I don't have to do anything else. I won. Wait, for real? You know what I'm saying? It takes you like that, like 10 seconds to be like, oh yeah, and then the explosion of emotion hits after it kind of sets in for a couple seconds.
definitely. And like you've been there since like the first ever like DPW Fire taping. What does it mean for like the how have you seen like the company develop over these past couple of years and seeing where Deadlock Pro Wrestling is now and probably one of the forefronts of the independent wrestling scene?
Honestly, I'll be honest with you. I didn't see it coming. Uh, I had heard of Deadlock and the boys, but it wasn't something that like I paid attention to. I just heard that like people had talked about them, and I was like, okay, cool. You know what I'm saying? When they reached out to me, I didn't put two and two together.
Yeah,
So uh, I didn't really know what to expect. It was kind of just another indie promotion, and I was just going to do a job, you know.
yeah,
Um, but then when you get down there and you're around the fans, you're around the people, you're around the boys, Deadlock boys, and you see like the passion they have, and like not only the passion but the reverence and respect they have for the business and the boys. Like, um, you see a lot of promoters on the indies who it's gonna sound crazy to say this, but like some of them think they know more than what they do, if that makes sense. Um, but their brilliance is that they know that they don't, if that makes sense. Like they're smart enough to ask questions to want to get better and not assuming because they've watched wrestling for 30 years they know everything there is about the business. While that doesn't mean that you don't know anything about the business in general, um, I can watch the NFL for 30 years and that doesn't mean I need to be a head coach, you know?
yeah.
Um, so it's kind of the same mindset where they wanted to learn and not only learn, but they wanted to like grow the business and what they're doing and take it seriously. And you've kind of seen that from the CrossFit gym to uh, finally like the big convention centers they're running with, you know, Rays and everybody with production. Everything has went up tenfold from the time we were in that little CrossFit building in Jacksonville, North Carolina. I didn't even know that was a place until we went there. So like going from that and what I thought it was going to be to what it's blossomed into, I'm really proud of the boys. I'm really proud of, and by the boys, I mean the Deadlock boys. And then I'm really proud of the roster because there was a lot of roster members that like were good, but you didn't necessarily hear about. Um, the first time I wrestled Jay Malachi, I knew he was going to be something. Just getting in the ring with him for the first time, but before then, before we locked up, I had no clue who he was. I hadn't had a conversation with him until we got there, and honestly, he showed up to the venue after I'm pretty sure either track meet or an
Yep.
AAU basketball tournament, and then came and wrestled at a show. So like uh, guys like that, guys like Bojack, Diego Hill, BK Westbrook, LeBron Cozone, like guys that like outside of their scene may not be getting the opportunities, but they saw that like not only are these guys on that level and deserve this spotlight, but what a lot of promoters don't do is they have an issue with um, it's not necessarily booking the same people because I understand that there are draws in the professional wrestling business, but you also have to have enough um, variety to make them turn you on instead of a GCW or instead of a Defy or you know what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah, for sure.
um, they still want the high quality wrestling. They still want to see faces they haven't seen. But if there's a LeBron Cozone or Diego Hill that they know they're only going to see on Deadlock, they're going to make sure they watch Deadlock.
Mhm.
As opposed to a lot of promoters on the indies have this thing of like it's uh just dream matches, just matches for the sake of matches because this match would be cool. Um, but what we're losing is the art of storytelling, and that's one thing that I love about Deadlock is um, they tell the story, they get you invested. Um, they bring all the names, all the top indie names that you've seen, mixed with some that you don't. But there's not a drop off. It's not like, oh, okay, these are the TV guys and these are the indie guys. It's like, no, these guys are all good, and it's showing that these guys are on the level of these other guys, and they're bringing in names to help enrich their area and their product and what they're doing, rather than just bringing in a name to have a match and then it not benefit anyone. You know what I'm saying? Like if you fly two guys in that are two names and they wrestle each other, yeah, that's good for them. But if they're not going to be there the next month, you know what I'm saying? The extra you drew isn't going to come because they came for those two. But if you bring in a name and have him work a Diego Hill or a Bojack and have them work together, and then you see that Diego Hill or Bojack's on that level, well, then guess what? You may have been a fan of whoever, of Mike Bailey or whoever else it was, but now you're a fan of Bojack also. You know what I'm saying? So that's one thing that I'm really proud that they've done that's helped expand what they've done is it's become a breath of fresh air, much like GCW. GCW is its own thing. They have something that makes it different from any other indie promotion. And what theirs is they're the outlaws. You never know what's going to happen on their show. You know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
Instead of following a carbon copy of what GCW or what other indie promotions are doing, they carved out their own lane with some of their own unique talent. And I feel like with the all the stuff they have at their disposal, being able to get camera crew like raised lighting and production and things of that nature to give it a different feel, it's really turned into something that's really special, and I'm really proud to be a part of.
Definitely, man. Like it definitely feels like when you go to a DPW show, it doesn't feel like a DPW or a GCW or any other independent wrestling. It kind of has like its own little flavor to it, and it definitely makes a brand stand out. And like, there's so many names upon that roster that are just great. I mean, you mentioned a lot there, yourself, Bojack, Diego Hill, etc. Like, there's so many guys that are great. But you're currently the world champion right now. You're at the top of the table. You're at the head of the table, DPW, and there's a lot of new names coming through that are now on the free agent scene. Recently, there was a few names from WWE are now out of their 90-day contracts. They're free to wrestle wherever. Are you interested into wrestling any of those guys in DPW?
Yeah, definitely. It's always fun for me to test myself, but at the same time, I like when guys come from WWE or somewhere else and they might not have an idea of who you are.
Yeah,
But when you get in that ring, you can tell their body language changes. Uh, when they realize, oh, this isn't just some guy. This guy takes it as seriously as I do, and this guy's every bit as good as I am. He just hasn't had the light shined upon him that I have. So like that's one of the things I love the most, just because like I'm a competitor. I love to prove people wrong. So uh, I think that would be a lot of fun. Something I'd definitely be looking forward to. Um, but I want any and all challengers. So I like Deadlock's already been to Japan. That's a goal of mine. I want to defend the title in Japan. I want to defend the title in the UK. I've been wrestling a lot in Canada. I just want to get international and really make that a world championship. Because as far as if I'm not mistaken, the tag team titles have been defended in Japan, but technically the world title isn't a world title until I defend it, until somebody defends it outside of the country. So that's my plan right now is to fulfill that and help grow the company outside of where it has been so far.
definitely. Is there like a certain like challenger you're looking forward to getting in the ring with?
Um, a challenge I look forward to getting in the ring with. I think I've been saying this for a minute, but I think Black Taurus would be really fun. Because we're a lot alike in the aspect of the strength and speed. Where might have a slight strength advantage, he has that slight speed advantage, and it's very rare that somebody matches me that closely. So I feel like I'd have to adjust how I do things because it's not going to be, you watch me wrestle a smaller guy, they got to like a lot of times you're not going to dive on me. I'm going to catch you. If you might catch me if I'm not paying attention, you know what I mean? I get run into a post or something like that. But with a guy like him, he's a little bit bigger and he moves fast. So that's a lot more uh force that I have to stop to try and catch him that I might just with him I might just have to move out the way. So like it's gonna have to change how I wrestle completely. So things like that I like to be able to now it's like I'm getting more into the thinking aspect of professional wrestling. So I like breaking people down. Even like watching me and my daughter watching old boxing clips because I have Muhammad Ali posters in my room and a couple Mike Tyson posters, and she always asked me questions. So we literally sat down and I started showing her like some of the best women's boxers. I showed her. Obviously, I had to show her Layla Ali because back in the day she was the woman's go, and then recently I started showing her more like Clarissa Shields.
Yeah.
And so she's like, "What? That's a thing?" And I'm like explaining to her like it's not just people punching people in the face. There's an art to it. There's what they're doing is it's a chess game. They're trying to hit you without getting hit. And so like we're just both sitting there like that's the stuff I like. I like being able to capitalize on you in a certain situation when you're not ready for it. And so I've realized a lot of my game I do rely on the power and strength, but sometimes I gotta it's not easier, but like it's the risk reward ratio is a little bit better uh, if I can break down a body part or I can scientifically beat you down. And then when you can't defend yourself, you know what I'm saying? I
Yep.
may not want to, I'm not a submission guy. I may not put a submission on your leg and try and make you tap out, but I'll put your leg in a whole bunch of submissions and jump on it and do whatever until you can't move out of the way from a pounce. You know what I'm saying? Like things of that nature. So I feel like that's one of the biggest things I that I've been focusing on recently that I've been trying to add to my game.
I'm so happy you mentioned boxing. I mean, there's a lot of stuff going on in boxing right now, and I do have a question for you as well. Would you ever be interested in getting into boxing? We recently just had Shadaza Green on, who's an amazing women's boxer. We had Jake Paul on as well, who does his thing. Are you interested in ever getting into boxing?
I have to really do some training first because A, I'm rusty. B, those things are things that I take seriously. I've done some like MMA training. The difference was I had friends who were really taking that seriously,
Yeah.
and I didn't think at that time that I had. My daughter was really young; she was months old, so like I couldn't devote what they were devoting to MMA at the time. And the big difference is MMA, there's a hard weight limit. So I would have had to cut like 60, 70 pounds. And that's a whole that's a life changing amount of weight. So um it would have been probably 6 months a year before I could even really fight. But like I said, I take those things really seriously. So if I was gonna step in to do something like that, I would want to make sure that I was trained. Um not just trained, but in shape and ready to do something like that. But yeah, I've thought about it. I've actually been thinking about getting back in and getting in some jujitsu gyms around or some MMA gyms and just for cardio and to work. I see a lot of guys doing that. And honestly, I just miss rolling around. I haven't had that like outlet of like it's because sometimes I'll do the wrestling training, like you know who Braden Lee is?
Yeah, of course.
He was a collegiate wrestler at UND. So sometimes we'll just get in the ring together. I'm like, hey, let's shoot around for a minute. You know what I'm saying? Just because I haven't done it in a while. So yeah, that's always something that's like uh that I've always had a passion for, and I think I've always like any type of combat sports. But if I was gonna do something like that, I'd need like give me a good 6 months of hard training before I'd even think about doing it.
For sure, for sure. Like now you are the world champion at DPW, and like you previously been champions like an MLW as a tag team champion. Do you have any interest of ever going back to like a TV wrestling company if that was on the table?
Yeah. But at the end of the day, the money's got to be right. Um, I'm not expecting like I'm not Cody Rhodes. I ain't expecting to get $1 million out the gate or nothing like that. But it's one of those things where if the money's there where I can take care of my family, take care of my daughter, then yes. But I'm not into the signing contracts where someone can tell me where and when I can work someplace if you're not paying me enough to where I don't need to work there. So that's my whole thing. If you pay me enough where I don't need to work there, that's fine. That's why Vince can do that because he pays people enough for that. If you're not paying me enough, I'm not signing anything ever again.
That's totally fair. That's totally fair. As we wrap this up, I want to talk about your reign as DPW champion. What do you want to show people with this world title reign whenever that time does come to an end? How do you want people to reflect on your world title reign?
Uh, I want it. I think I want it to represent everything that DPW is. Like I want, much like when you think of ECW, you think of Taz with that world title. I want that to be me. When you think of at this point, if you're a younger fan, if you think of the WWE title, you think of Roman Reigns. When I was a kid, you thought of John Cena because he had it every other month. You know what I'm saying? Like, I want that to not necessarily because I have the title every month, but I want my matches to be so memorable and the things that I do that I want to leave a mark to where uh, I want to leave a mark much like a Vader or those guys over in Japan that like here in the States they probably didn't realize the amount of people that were tape trading at that time to see what they were doing and the amount of like Vader's passed away now, but how many people, how many, especially big men in our era, say that they were influenced by Bam Bam and Vader?
Yeah.
So it's like when he was doing that, he's thinking, "Oh, it's money, it's all these things." He's having fun over in Japan, but I don't think he realized the lasting effect that would have. And so I just want that. I want to be the guy that like puts the company on his back and makes something of it because it's not just I see a lot of myself in them where a lot of people's like, "What's that?" And then they didn't really, "Oh yeah, that's cool, whatever." And then once it started picking up momentum, then people were like, "Okay, now I want to deal with this." You know what I'm saying? So it's like it's a lot like me where it took me a while. Uh, I sat up chairs and cleaned up glass at GCW for a year before I even got on there. You know what I'm saying? Like there was a lot of, and that's how a lot of people are. I'm not complaining about that, but I'm just saying like in general, um, with my size and my look, I'm not a bodybuilder. So some people look at me a little bit differently. Like they might not even give me a chance. They see me on a poster and they're like, oh, okay, whatever. You don't know how many people I've seen like, oh man, I didn't expect you to wrestle the way you wrestled or do what you do. So it's like one of those things where uh I'm gonna take it from being that little what looked like a local promotion in Jacksonville, North Carolina, and I wanna on my back and with the help of the rest of the roster, take it to nationally, globally, whatever I can do. Because honestly, um, the opportunities they've given me and the chances they've took on me, they believed in me. That's what I'm saying. Is like they believed in me enough that one of the first people they hit up to come do Deadlock when I didn't even know who they were was me. When I found that out, you know what I'm saying? It's like, okay, you guys saw the vision when nobody else saw the vision. So now I want to return that favor to you guys.
Definitely, definitely. I think it's gonna work out. It's gonna be a great title reign. I'm excited to watch all the matches at all DPW shows. Calvin, thank you so much for your time. You're very generous for your time. Where can they find you on social media if they're not already following you?
At Calvin Tankman on Instagram and Twitter. I believe it's facebook.com/Calvin Tankman1. Pro Wrestling Tees.com .com/Calvin Tankman. And I think that's it. Yeah, it should be it.
Amazing, amazing.
Oh, if any promoter hit me or want to hit me up, book Calvin Tankman at gmail.com. You know, I'm always about that money, so hit me up.
Oh yeah, hell yeah. Calvin, thank you so much. Guys, my name's Malcolm. This is Muscle Memory, and we're out.